Hello and welcome to this special edition of Biz Talk on CGTN. Welcome to the program. I'm Lily Lu. China's top political sessions of 2022 will convene in 2 days. The world will be closely following the two sessions for details of China's economic performance in the previous year and how the country sets the course for economic development for the current year. At this special timing, we're hosting a CEO roundtable to discover what foreign businesses have witnessed in China's business environment, market vitality, and economic momentum. Joining me today are Morten Welrod, President of Motion Business Area ABB Group, and Jan Bozek, President of Tapestry Asia Pacific and also President and CEO of Coach China. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us, Lily.
Thank you, Lily.
Well, I guess first of all, let's touch upon what changes have you witnessed in China's business environment? Both ABB and Tapestry, and the Coach brands, have been in China for a very long time now. Let me start with Morten. Morten is joining us from Zurich. So ABB Motion Business, you have, in China, the three companies you have in China, in Shanghai and Beijing. The earlier ones were founded in the 1990s, so it's nearly 30 years ago. As you expand your business in China over the past decades, what are the major changes have you witnessed in the business environment, and what kind of policies have benefited you specifically?
No, thanks, Lily, and thanks for taking us on board today. It's the Chinese economy as being the second biggest in the world and our second biggest market also in ABB and also in our motion business. It's of key importance. And I see also how it has developed over the years from we established ourselves in China already in 1979 as ABB and then later on in 1992 with our first manufacturing unit. So that is a long history that we have established in the Chinese market with strong partners, strong foundations. But what we've seen lately is also how we're opening up in around the market access, being more open, the streamlining of administration, and also the financial and the taxation reforms. And this, of course, is something we as a multinational company appreciate, and we like the openness in the market. So, and I saw that also last year, China still being the number one when it comes to foreign direct investments. I think it was all up almost 15% in the year. So that also signals, the rest of the world, but also us at ABB. We are committed to China, but we are also see the opportunities for future growth and therefore investing more and more in our operations. That goes into the R&D and the technology, but also our manufacturing plants and also sales and services, servicing our customers on a daily basis. So that has been what we could see of latest.
Mm-hmm. And also, Jan, the last time we met was at Harbin Expo last year. How are events like the Expo helping to spur vitality of foreign companies, especially consumer product producers?
I think before to answer you, Lily, I want to take the opportunity to say a quick thank you for and apologizing a bit for my background. I'm very, very pleased to be back in Shanghai yesterday night, and I wanted to say hi to the team of the hotel here, the Pujiangzen in-town Shanghai Hotel, because they are doing an incredible job with people who are not definitely always in a good mood to be in quarantine to keep us safe. So I wanted to get the opportunity to wave a signal and say that we all appreciate the work that they are doing. And by the way, one of the questions you asked previously about what has changed recently is the fact that, several years ago, we would not have the opportunity to have an interview from a quarantine hotel. So that definitely had an impact on changing the way the world is turning. Coming back to your point about Hainan, the Hainan Expo was really, will be, because we are already preparing, and hopefully I will get out and be able to be there on the ground in April and see you again, a very unique opportunity to interact with a lot of people from the industry, other brands, and sharing our point of view about Hainan and sharing our point of view about the development with partners from landlord, with media, with government officials. And I should say that one of the big things that happened recently was the new status of Hainan, and looking forward to see the law unlocked and seeing what will happen behind 2025. But we are incredibly bullish behind this initiative. That will create really the biggest free trade port in the world by far. And I should say here, like in many other instances, the willingness, the vision of the government together with the execution of the local government has been incredibly supportive.
All right, and I knew, as you mentioned, you flew for about 16 hours to get from Paris to Shanghai, and you arrived yesterday, right? And
Yeah.
so, I mean, you've been in China for a long time. You call it home here, and this is also, I think, what can tell us, what can actually show how important the China market is, that you have to be here for the business and also for your life.
And for my family, which is living in Shanghai as well. You know, I've been lucky enough professionally to travel the first time in China in 2002. And the first time I was really living in Shanghai was, I think, in 2007. And I joined Tapestry right around this corner. And I saw the evolution of the economy, but I should say also the evolution of the society, the evolution of the customer. I mean, we started Tapestry at that time was only the Coach brand with a handful, about 20 stores in 2008. And now we have more than 350 stores, around 3 brands, Coach, Kate Spade, Stuart Weitzman, covering 80 cities, and speaking to a lot of customers, which we have monitored as well. And at least in the industry of fashion and luxury, I mean, the Chinese customer from 2008, which was absolutely eager and a magnifique student of what was happening in fashion, in luxury, trying to learn about the trend, trying to learn about the designer. And this transformation into being really the drive force of the industry, being the teacher. I mean, I was sharing with the team recently, there was an interesting survey that on average Chinese customer will be able to name 9 fashion designers and telling about their story. When you look in the West, you get the number to 3 maybe. That gives you about the importance, not only of the Chinese economy, but the Chinese customer in terms of being a driving force and pushing brands like us to continue to innovate and stay relevant.
That's very interesting. And Morten, I don't know, when was the last time you had visited China? I mean, among your business trips here, what kind of changes have you witnessed in your companies, on the grounds of the factories, among your employees?
Yeah. No, thanks. Unfortunately, it's now 2 years ago since I was in January 2020. That was my last visit, pre-COVID, to China. But I did live also, and I spent 4 years in Xiamen in 2008 to 2012, and I was able to see on the ground the kind of amazing development that happened in those years. Since then, I've been back more or less in regular basis. I mean, on more or less on a monthly basis since, and I always appreciate the can-do spirit, what we have in our team in ABB, and what you feel in China is the ability to take the business, but also society to new heights and developing. So it's every time, and I like to go back often to my old hometown of Xiamen in Fujian province. Not just because it's a beautiful place, but you want to catch up and to see the progress, after months and years when you're coming back. And this is as I say, why I'm so impressed about what we can do. And when you look at our business, this is also developed in that way that when I moved to China in late 2000s, then it was more about establishing R&D, setting it up. Today, we are so well established in China that it's the center of gravity and the center of attention. For instance, a lot of our digital solutions that is developed within our teams in Beijing or in Shanghai, that is also adapted for China, but also what we use for the rest of the world. So I think that is today very much in the center of what we do. So moving from a manufacturing hub to a service and digital solution hub has been a bit of the ABB journey and what we see, but staying there in touch with our customers still today. And now, unfortunately, by Teams, but I hope that we will open up borders and that we soon can also cross and be together, because I do miss my customers and partners and friends in China. So I hope that that's the kind of the time away will soon be over.
Sure, and we also hope that you would be able to visit your China companies or office in China, pretty soon, hopefully, over the pandemic. So let's talk about China's reform and opening up. There has been discussions about when China opened up its market step by step since 1978. It's been opening up well, let's say not all, but almost all of its sectors of the Chinese market, welcoming foreign investors, foreign businesses. But there has been discussions about whether the depth of China's reform and opening up is enough for today's world, especially when the world's economies are so connected. Morten, is there any areas that you think that should be opened up further from your business point of view?
We see that it is in overspace, it is an open competition. It is an open market already today. And I think also the adaptation of the technologies that is developed inside but also outside China in our field is very much both accepted and now being established. And I would like to highlight there, especially in our field of motions, which is electrical motors and variable speed drives. Here we have what we started in this summer in European Union was what we call eco design, which is a new energy efficiency standard of how we what is the minimum standards of motors. And China did that at the same time as the European Union. So being in the forefront and the forerunners of using the highest energy efficiency standards in the world. And that is what I kind of a leadership, and taking that leadership role, I hope that we will see even more of from China, because it's needed for the green transition and building on sustainability solutions for the future. Then to be that trendsetter and not kind of leave that up to someone else. I mean, Europe is one kind of from a technology point of view, but China definitely, I expect, and I think we will see that also in the future. I would expect that China also take on a leading role in this field, driving the green transition and for a more sustainable future.
That's interesting. And speaking of China's role in industry globally, let me go to Yang now. China's opening up has allowed its people to grow into a more sophisticated consumer group. As you just told us that the Chinese consumers are more, they have more knowledge about the fashion industry now, probably more than their peers in other countries. So what role do you think Chinese consumers are playing in this industry?
I think there is different angle to look at that. First, again, we don't really look at China purely as a market. We really look also at a very, very important source of inspiration for us. And when you speak about the Chinese customer, I already touched a few points about their level of sophistication and how knowledgeable they are. I mean, when we discuss with the global team within our company, we say that, in fact, the Chinese customer are like 1 billion of fashion consultants that are out there. They are very the expert of the business. But again, that forces us to innovate and to be relevant, to continue to be relevant. There is a lot more that I believe will come from that. I mean, I believe, and we believe within the company, that the next 10, 20 years will really be driven by what we internally call, at least the China cool. And I'm not sure how you translate that in Chinese, but it means that we see so many new and exciting young fashion designers, young artists, young creativity, which today start to have a certain relevant voice in China, but lack to have a more global voice. Mm-hmm. And we see ourselves within Tapestry as an organization who is really very excited about helping those young talent, those young designers, those young artists. I mean, it started back in 2018, in December 2018, where the Coach brand made its first fashion show outside of New York City, here in Shanghai, and basically choosing Shanghai because feeling that was where the green root on the future of creativity and design would be. And at that time, we collaborated with 4 very diverse Chinese artists, just also not only to provide Chinese design or inspiration for Chinese customer. That's not interesting enough. We also did that with them so that we can display their work, their creativity in Milan, Paris, Tokyo, San Francisco, New York, all over the world, to try to explain to people who are not enjoying the China way of life how cool it can be. And we move forward a bit more. More recently, we just had a very great partnership that we plan to continue with the Donghua University of Fashion in Shanghai, when we work with a group of 150 students to ask them what China cool may be for you in the future, what emotion does it trigger, what kind of motion would you like as a future Chinese designer, as a future trendsetter, to share to the world, to say, China is cool because of that. And when you think about why China is cool, that's the kind of emotion that we have. It was a fantastic journey, and we will definitely continue on this. We're already working on the next year and continue to raise the bar on that.
No, that's a great story there that you told, and a good point that other than a market, China could be a source of inspiration for the global fashion industry. I would like to get more takes from Morten on that point. Morten, how would you comment on China's efforts in trying to transform its economy into an innovation-driven economy? I mean, from in your business, you work with your Chinese partners and you have your Chinese employees. Are they contributing more to ABB's, tech innovation progress globally?
Absolutely. We are setting one of our kind of key strengths is our digital centers that we have around the world. And the biggest one is in Beijing. And that is where we developed in my business over the first self-connecting variable speed drive. That means that it's embedded software and with SIM card in simple terms that connects to the cloud, so we can get full transparency of what's going on in the industrial application. So at a remote water pumping station, for instance, we can get a pre-warning before something fails, and that we have, so you make sure that you always have water in the morning when you get up, and don't have to call the waterworks that to say we have an issue. So this is where our center of gravity for many of these solutions are developed in China by our team. And the reason why we've done is we find the availability or the kind of access to creativity, to access to the right engineering competence is there. And we also see that how we're able to get a lot of our kind of the personal, all the WeChat functionality, all over what you do in a daily life, it's being able to transfer that to business life. So it's the whole of the experience as a customer, what you expect on your personal level and on your personal life. That is something we also expect that will be there in the business environment. And when these two things come together, you need to have creative people and engineers together, and sometimes even creative engineers who is able to get this working easily together. And that is where we have one of our biggest R&D centers is in China, and with a very good focus on especially around digital solutions for the future, around cloud connections and monitoring of devices that makes them more reliable, and therefore we get more uptime and more reliability in the systems where we are a partner, we're working with our partners.
These are great stories, and that's what we see as a true localization of a foreign business in China. And gentlemen, let's move on. I would like to get your opinions on China's growth momentum. I know China's economy has shown enough resilience during the pandemic hit period and also amid uncertainties in global relations right now. However, the economy is not faced without challenges. I mean, we have the pandemic ongoing, global relations, trade relations, and also supply chain disruptions, raw material shortages, things like that going about. What is your outlook of the China market for your industries? Morten, can I start with you, please?
Yeah, sure. I mean, as China, still last year, where people were still questioning, China was still the stand for about a quarter of the whole world's growth in GDP. So it is where still the growth is happening. And that is the same also for our business, the second biggest market, and we are very confident in the future. Therefore, we also made significant investments in China. We will, for instance, have a new e-mobility. When we're talking about we made increase our share in our joint venture with around e-charging, which is a big part of also our electrification business. And then we're opening a new robotics factory in Shanghai later on in this year, which is will be the state-of-the-art manufacturing, where we have robots manufacturing robots, and that's some of the things that we are very proud of in ABB, and that we are looking forward that we can welcome customers and partner and help in the automation automation and improve operations of Chinese manufacturing, especially in the field of EV and in the automotive space. So these are some of the areas where we are continuing to invest because we are very confident about the growth of China, which is outlined in the 5-year plan. What you see there around digitalization, smart manufacturing, the whole e-mobility, artificial intelligence, and sustainable development. And that's kind of, these are all check marks of what we do in ABB as well. So I think the strategy of ABB, kind of the long-term plans of China, is a very good fit. And therefore, I'm very confident also about the future in China and our ABB position and over opportunities in China in the coming years.
And all right, Jan, do you see strong signs that the economy would be doing well despite of downward risks?
I mean, if you were to ask the same question 18 months ago, I think there would have been a lot of people who say, oh my God, the whole world is entering COVID and it's going to be a disaster. And there was a lot of people who were, I mean, for very great reason, very concerned. And look at that. I mean, despite that China was able to be the only economy of a size, we're able to continue to show GDP growth. So when you monitor and you look at an economy that even within what was, and we're still in, but one of the biggest storm possible with the COVID and the mass pandemic, still able to get a little growth in GDP. I mean, that's a proof point of how incredibly resilient and strong is the Chinese economy. So that gives us at Tapestry the full confidence about how it will continue to evolve and how it will continue to be a main engine of growth for the global world. And again, when you look at the Chinese society, the Chinese policy, and the way moving forward, I mean, first, digitalization is here to stay, okay? And China, I mean, if you look at the APP in China, they are maybe 3 to 5 years in advance of innovation within companies. And the government will say we're going to double bet on that. You double bet from already a position of strength. So that gives a lot of optimism. The other direction about, the success of alleviating poverty and now moving into increasing the quality of life to as many people as possible is totally aligned with what we want to do in Tapestry. We are not defining ourselves as an exclusive brand, who select their customer for the happy few. We would love to provide incredible quality product to as many people as possible. And that's totally aligned with the target of elevation and the continued growth of the middle class. And finally, sustainability is at the top of mind globally for everybody. And here as well, I mean, I think the Chinese government and the Chinese direction is taking very, very strong step in order to move us forward and bringing the rest of the world with them. So incredibly optimistic. And I mean, I shared with you that we have about 250 stores. I mean, we are working on a distribution plan next year, but we are looking at opening potentially 50 more stores across the 3 brands and targeting especially the growth of the middle class coming from Tier 3 and Tier 4 cities.
Well, Jan, I don't know if you have the numbers at your hand, but what picture did your financial results paint for you for last year?
I have kind of the figure in hand. We just shared our Q2 result when we continue to show a single-digit growth for the market and plus 35%, I think, versus the pre-pandemic level. So incredible optimism moving ahead. We understand as well that with COVID, there may be ups and downs and hard time, but on the middle term and long term, incredibly optimistic.
All right. And now let's talk about China's carbon neutral goals. I wanted to get your take on this, Morten. How do you think China's carbon neutral goals factor into your company's strategy?
Yeah, well, thanks, Leah. I think first of all, we talk a lot about China being the second largest economy, but we also have to remember China is also the second largest emitter of CO2. And therefore, I'm happy to see that it's taken so seriously by the Chinese government with very strong commitment of reducing also carbon emissions over the coming years, because carbon neutrality is a must for all of us, and it's a global problem, so it needs a global solution. I referred to it already that I hope, and I'm so happy to see when China is taking the lead, because the impact is so big. And it's not just because it's the right thing to do. I believe also from a business opportunity, and for us, working for ABB, it's a great business opportunity for the green transition. Will opens up new jobs and new opportunities, and we see that already. So that is in ABB, sustainability is in the center of what we do, and it has been for for many years, and therefore we have committed to our what we call carbon neutral operations. That means all our factories, manufacturing plants will be carbon neutral already by 2030, and I also expect even a bit before. But what we are working, of course, also with suppliers, but also helping our customers to reduce their emissions, because we see a strong commitment for a more sustainable future and reduction of emissions from all large companies in China. So, and that is where we can use our technology in the high efficiency motors and drives and the whole electrification and automation package. When we put all that together, we are able at times to reduce more than 25% of the energy consumption at customer place. So when we say that, that's how we will have a large impact of what we do in China, working with our customers, working with our partners for a more sustainable future. So that is what keeps our whole team highly motivated and very committed to coming up with new technology that is really driving, using that innovation and technology to be able to reach the ambitious targets that China also have set now for the long term of being carbon neutral.
Is there a specific project that you can share with us about to better help us to better understand how ABB's tech innovation fits into China's carbon neutral goals? I don't know, maybe because I personally read news about the Shanghai Library project. That sounds quite amazing.
Yeah, we have done many projects, and it goes all the way from power generation. That means creating the green power. So we are the supplier of all the generators and the converter what sits in the offshore wind, these large offshore windmills. So there you will find a lot of technology insights. We're able to produce green energy, but then it's not just the green production of energy. It's also about our renewable energy. It's also about how we consume it and how we can reduce the energy emissions. And that's why energy efficiency is very close to my heart. It's about how we can reduce the emissions. So we do, for instance, the HVAC system. That means the large unit that sits up on the roof, for instance, in the east branch of the Shanghai Library, as you referred to, we're having all the motors and the drives, with running them at the right speed and not at full speed and then wasting all the energy. You run the motors and the fans at the right speed, what is needed to have the right comfortable environment for the visitors at the Shanghai Library. This is one example. I could mention also what we do, for instance, in the field of decarbonization, which is, for instance, shore to ship. When you have one of those large cruise ships in the harbor, normally it would run its power generation on the diesel generator. So it burns diesel on board, and this is not very efficient. So what we do then is to take the grid from onshore, from the port, and then connect to the ship, and so they can run electric instead of burning inefficient diesel generator on board the ship. This is another example of what we do at ABB to be able to reduce carbon emissions in China and all over the world.
Interesting. And Jan, what are some of the latest products or campaigns that you have introduced in China as a response to the government's call to pursue green and high quality development?
I'm not sure it has a response, Lily, because I think we're all living on the same planet. And we all would love to keep this planet for our children and grandchildren. So we were deliberately for quite some time already engaged into that. Also because that's the right thing to do, being the right proper citizen of this planet. I think what the Chinese government does is really push us to move the agenda even further, and it gives us also a great opportunity to display this level of innovation. I think you may remember when we met in Hainan last year, I had the opportunity to introduce you something a bit experiential, which was a leather which was colored only using vegetables, which allows it to be 100% degradable after that, and very low level of chemical use into its fabrication. We say that this leather, you can basically put it on the soil and put a seed and the tree will grow on it. It is absolutely neutral on that. And we decided to unveil it in Hainan here also because definitely we recognize the fact that the input from the government and the push was incredibly strong. There is a new campaign that we are about to launch as well here in China, which is Coach Loving Program. which is, leather is a fantastic texture. It can last forever. It can, maybe not forever, but it can easily be given from one generation to another generation. And since the beginning of our presence here in China, we definitely provide a repair service and caring service for all of the leather goods that we're putting on the market. We just decided to become a lot more public and vocal about that, to make sure that when you engage with a Coach leather bag, for example, it's not only for you, it can be for your daughter or your granddaughter, and we will help you taking care of it. Mm-hmm. We call that Coach loving.
Yeah, and could you help me to better understand Tapestry's carbon neutral steps? You have been trying to implement sustainable production in different, almost all sections of the value chain. I'm particularly curious about sustainable product design, because I think designing is the very first section of the value chain. How does it work exactly?
So it started many years ago when we had our first set of goals in terms of renewable energy and in terms of carbon neutrality. And we just revisited them 1 year ago, I think, to give us goal for 2025 with a reduction of 20% of our CO2, for example, a reduction of 10% of the water that we consume. I think the most exciting part, which is really embedded into design, is about the leather, which is how do we trace, source our leather. Making sure that we are sourcing mm-hmm. leather from tannery, which are gold standard, mm-hmm. which means less possible pollution. Even when we are sourcing the tide to make the leather, making sure that we understand where the tide is coming from, because some farmers, for example, are able to grow cattle by being not only carbon neutral, but growing cattle which absorb more CO2 than what they emit, because they rotate around different fields. So a huge effort into sourcing the right material and ensuring traceability of our raw material in order to realize our sustainability goals.
What about on the consumers end? What are you doing to help to forge a more healthy and sustainable consumption behavior?
So I think that's the point that I shared about the Coach loving. And that's why we love our leather handbag into Coach. Because again, if you buy a Coach bag, what we say to the customer is that you may indulge in the moment the happiness of owning this bag, but we really want this bag to last for you and for your family as long as possible. That's why you can come to any store in China and in the world, in fact, and they will offer you to clean, to service the leather, to moisturize it. We have a lot of repair services that are available. So our goal from the customer is to say, don't buy a bag that you will wear only 1 or 2 times. The Coach bag is supposed to last for you and for your daughter, mm-hmm. at least.
Good point there. Let me get back to Morten. Are the carbon goals creating synergies for you to do business and cooperate more with your Chinese partners?
Yes, we have started our energy efficiency movement, not just of ABB, but it's also with customers and also our partners. So where we want to drive how we are able to to drive the whole society of spending and using energy more efficient. That could be for you us as private individuals, that we turn off the light in the room when we leave. But of course, it's down into industry and the large consumption. That is where we can make an impact, the biggest impact. And working with customers there of using the new technology, which is available today. But it's often it's a lack of knowledge of the opportunity we have at hand. We have to having this mix or the link between our operational spend and our capital spend, the OPEX versus CAPEX discussion, and that we are getting that awareness across industries that it is possible to save up to 25% of energy in your operation. So that is it's a message that has a fantastic business case. It is a great upside for as a company, but of course, this is what we have to do to create a more sustainable work. And this is how we use with our partners, because as ABB, we can do a lot, but together with our partners, we can do so much more together. So engaging with our partners who covering the whole China in the different provinces, and they are again working there with their partners. That's how we get the scaling and are able to get the right sustainable, highly energy efficient solutions at the customer premises. And that's our contributions to the green transition. And I hope you feel my enthusiasm on the topic. And I'm so proud of my team members in China who are also driving this change every day together with our partners and our customers.
Morten, do you believe that your China partnership helps to empower the industry on a path towards carbon neutrality?
Absolutely. They are a key partner to us, but I mean, this will not happen without our partners. We cannot do this alone. It's our partners who do system integration of our solutions. It's the partners that are advisors in the industry and explaining how can we become carbon neutral. Because it's practical steps. That's why we started also in our own operations. You need to see what do you have to do in a factory to get it carbon neutral. It's about putting solar panel up on the roof. It's about buying what additional energy you need, the green energy that could be from wind or from solar. It's about looking at your ventilation system, the air. Are you letting out all the hot air, or do you cool down the building even when people are not in the room? So using building automation, it's about digitalization to get full access what's happening on inside the premises. These are the very practical things to do. We have the right technology of kind of the assets. We have the right digital solutions that we get the transparency and we can see. But then we need the right know-how and the right awareness about it so we can make the right decisions. Mm-hmm. And that is, we work both as ABB, but then closely with our partners, because they are in the end who does this out of our end customers' factories and premises. So, and that's why I'm very positive, both for the business opportunity, but it's something we have to do as a global society to address this, because it's the only way forward.
Mm-hmm. Morten, how do you understand high quality development as proposed by China as a foreign businessman?
For me, the how we going to develop as a company in China, and also how we develop our team there, is to be local. We talk always about in China for China and the world, and that's also our motto in ABB. But we have to have a strong local presence that is understanding the local market and the local needs. That is, for me, always the starting point. But then we're also using those developed solutions outside. But it has to start that we understand the whole market and being able to come up with high quality solutions for our own and our local customers in China. That is the starting point, and then we take it further after that.
Well, great. And Jan, can I get your opinion on that? How do you understand high quality development?
I think that there is two things. There is, first, I would say, something which is related purely in China, and that's a bit what Morten was mentioning with the China for China, which is giving opportunity for people to improve the quality of their life, which can be the quality of what they consume, how they consume, which brand do they embark with. And I think what the government has done, for example, around IP protection to fight counterfeit is very great, and we continue to partner on that. But making sure we provide to as many people as we can in China the best possible quality of the product. Then there is, to the point we just discussed before, the quality of life is also the quality of our environment. The quality of the water we drink, the air we breathe, the quality of the education, the quality of the medical system. So at Tapestry, we don't go that far, but we focus on the quality of the product. There is another thing I would say about quality, and that's where I believe China will have, as I touched a little bit before, more and more global role to play, which is when you speak about digitalization, for example. I mean, China being so advanced can help to improve the overall quality of digitalization of the world. When I shared with you that I really feel that the coming decades, 1 or 2 decades, I mean, everything that is cool in the street, I mean, the street where a lot of brands will come from China, everything that will be cool and fashionable may come from China. So that's an improvement in quality, but not only in China for China. I really would love to be able to have a lot more Chinese designer which are partnering with our designer, being part of our teams, or even to helping their development and helping Chinese people having a stronger voice globally.
Yes, eventually, down to the end, it's going to be a better life for the people here. Gentlemen, we still have a few minutes to go before we wrap things up. I would like to get your one final question for you. What would be your piece of advice to a foreign business that is still looking at the China market thinking about whether they should tap into this market. Jan, can we start with you?
Yes. I was about to say, sorry, it's too late, but that's not the right answer. It's a new business. But hurry up would be the first one, but hurry up cautiously, because again, it's very interesting. Don't consider the Chinese customer only as a customer. Always consider the Chinese customer, the Chinese world that you're living with as a source of inspiration. Be very, very curious about that. Because again, one thing very simple. Why do I say the first thing would be to be incredibly curious? Be here, be on the ground, spend time. One difficulty that I have, and that's maybe related to what I shared with you before about the Chinese fashion designer. It's not easy for a foreigner, and I don't know if it's easier for you, Lily, but when I'm talking to friends abroad who never been to China, and I explain to them how great it is to live in China, and the China way of life is great, they just have no clue. For most of the people don't understand what is a Chinese way of life if you ask them. So for a new company to come here. You're maybe a little bit late, but if you just come here, don't rush and understand the Chinese way of life and understand the customer, be very humble and hear them.
Okay, Morten, you got about 30 seconds.
I would just second what Jan was saying, that there is a reason why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. And I think that is a bit of to listen closely on the ground, and you have to be present. That I very much agree to, that it will not happen from outside. It happens from inside, understanding the daily life, understanding the local needs, and then attracting and getting the right people on board. If you do that, it's I don't think it's never too late, but of course you will have some catching up to do.
Great stuff, and not to just think about what China can bring to you, but also think about what you can bring to China. Thank you so much, gentlemen. That was a special edition of Biz Talk here on CGTN. I was joined by Mr. Morten Welrod, President of Motion Business Area, a member of the Group Executive Committee of ABB, and Jan Bozek, President of Tapestry Asia Pacific. Thank you so much, gentlemen. That was a great talk. Thank you.